Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. We have been through the tumult and uproar of a full regular season of college football. We've watched with wonder and amazement as rivalry week played out in front of us like a Shakespearean drama. And now, Carla, it's championship week. It's championship week, Carla.
It's championship week. How are we here already?
That is a mind-numbing concept. The fact that that the regular season is over, and that we're down to championship games. It's just I cannot fathom, actually.
Yeah. It flew by, and suddenly we're here.
And suddenly we're here at the end of November, the beginning of December. There is far too much fun in any single championship week for Carla and I to handle by ourselves. That would be selfish on our parts. So joining us, the country's foremost expert on Group of Five college football, AJ Kufdick. AJ,
wow,
how you doing?
Yeah, thank you. I'm hearing you here in the studio.
I've seen the spreadsheets. I will defend that title for you until someone can prove otherwise.
I just want to point out that I was right. I didn't need to wait for the computers. I didn't have to do anything. I had the Mountain West, all of the scenarios lined up. I'm Doctor Strange in Endgame. I'm looking through all the timelines, and I figured out there was one scenario that if UNLV lost, which they did, spoilers. And if Boise State won, Boise would be going to Las Vegas to play UNLV in the Mountain West title game. And I nailed it. I didn't have to wait for computers. I was even running the scenarios to say this drop doesn't happen. Listen, you come to this podcast for a number of different things. One, fun. We're here for fun.
Yes.
And two, information. And three, to see the future. So that's what I'm here for.
AJ saw the future in that case and shared it with Carla, and so I've seen the evidence. It is overwhelming, and I will defend AJ's title for as long as humanly possible. We want to start with something that's kind of a bummer. Coaches losing their jobs happens every year. There's a coaching carousel. This time, I mean, it feels a little bit personal. The first time that we asked a coach to be on the program was this past summer, and we had a Middle Tennessee State coach, Rick Stockstill, on the show, and word came down today that he had been relieved of his duties with the Blue Raiders. Carla, obviously, I mean, you said, right, you were on campus and you were doing stuff. Were there rumors? And then when after the announcement, what did campus feel like today?
There was a little bit of a murmur around campus, but not anything overly substantial. The challenge with this time of year, as you all know, is that we're heading into finals.
Yeah.
And so stress levels on campus are high. It's the first day back after the long break, and everybody's just trying to get reorganized, and particularly in our college, it's projects, right? All of your projects are getting done. So there was more talk about that than there was about football. I do have some students that are related adjacently to the football program that I didn't get a chance to talk to today to see what their thoughts were. But it was quiet on campus, and I mean, and it's funny because my office is directly across from Floyd Stadium.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. And didn't see anything, that would have led me to believe that that this was happening this morning. But it's 18 years that Stock was at the helm at Middle, and it was an interesting dynamic, particularly on social media. After he was relieved of his duties, the outpouring of support for Coach, even though he was relieved, just from former players, and saying that it was probably time for a change. But just in fact, even the MTSU official athletics account posted to Facebook tonight a graphic that said "Thank you, Coach Stockstill," which is not something you normally see after a university relieves a head coach of its duties. So
feels more like a retirement thing than like a firing coach you're fired thing. Almost.
It feels like they're trying to spin it in that way. I don't think Stock is done.
Right.
I don't think he's done. He's not that old in the grand scheme of things. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, whether he just takes some time off, whether he goes to be a coordinator somewhere, I don't know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to be at a university that's now in the coaching carousel.
Okay.
And just to kind of see how this all plays out. I think probably what did him in was the loss on Saturday. Yeah. Losing to Sam Houston State is a tough one to swallow. Mm-hmm. When this was, that would have gotten them to 5-7. Not the best season, but at least tolerable. You were 1 win away from bowl eligibility, but to finish the season 4-8, and that was a game that you should have won. To blow a huge lead against Jacksonville State, even though yes, Jacksonville State probably the better team all season long. But you were up 31 points in that game. Yes, and to lose that game, that didn't help. Because they were competitive in a lot of games this year. So I was a little surprised. I know there'd been rumors on campus earlier that it's time for him to go. So here we are. And so we'll see how this all plays out over the next several weeks. And, who Massaro has his eyes on. There have been rumblings. A lot of the students and some of the alums were saying, yeah, let's not make Stock the scapegoat here. Massaro needs to go too. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Out of that, I don't think the university would do that just because there's a huge athletic capital campaign happening right now that Massaro is kind of spearheading. It's going to totally revolutionize the way that Floyd Stadium is positioned in the athletics program at Middle. So I don't think that's in the cards, but who knows? So pay attention to what's happening there. We'll wait and see. So yeah, I'm in the middle of a coaching carousel. Who knew?
You got congratulations. You got the horse. Does the horse go up and down on this carousel, or are you in the
It's just like one of the solid ones.
One of the solid ones. Well, if Ellie's on the carousel with me, she's on a solid one, and I'm on the one that's going to go up and down.
Okay, that's fair. So, I think the interesting part here is Stockstill was making good money in terms of like coaching salaries. He was making like pretty good money for a school with the revenues of Middle. Middle makes $35 million in athletics revenues in total. And most of it is coming from the school, not TV money, not anything like that. And I'm sure, there's probably a booster and NIL group near Middle, but it's not the schools that are around Middle.
Right.
The Kentuckys, the Western Kentuckys, the Tennessees, Memphis. There's a lot of other Vandy. Sorry, Vandy. You didn't say that. But like all of these schools, there's a lot of, even though Nashville is a growing space, there's a ton of talent and people coming into the Nashville area. Like Middle's number 7 at best on that list. So I think it was time for Stockstill to be done. I think the challenge they had was his contract was effectively like a never-ending contract as long as he won 6 or 7 games.
Yep.
Right.
So he just kept getting these longer and longer extensions. So they finally pulled the trigger and said, "We're done here." I would love to see them go get an interesting coordinator. My current thought is who I would love to see is UNLV offensive coordinator Brennan Marion, who was he was the OC at Howard, who then beat UNLV at one point, and then he was the wide receivers coach during Kenny Pickett's time at Pitt. And then went to he was the wide receivers coach at Hawaii for a minute, and then he is now the OC at UNLV, and their offense has been great this year because he has a very interesting and modern idea of offense. It's called the go-go offense because he learned it when he was in DC. But for my Pittsburgh people, he went to Greensburg Salem. He is a Yinzer, and I love that. But also he's currently interviewing for the head coaching job at San Diego State.
Oh, and they have an opening.
Since
Brady's going to retire to his sailboat and whatever else.
I was just clapping. Clapping because that's what Brady would have done. Brady retired. I'm using this is podcasting as a visual medium. This is a visual medium on youtube.com.
Yes.
You should go there and watch this. But I made deep air quotes there that Brady Hoke retired.
AJ. perhaps exhibiting skepticism.
I may not feel like it was a retirement.
Yeah,
Wink, nudge,
might be.
that sort of thing.
Well, we can get.
But we are currently just out of the coaching carousel right now. We've had 14 jobs open. 4 have been filled. Middle Tennessee being the newest one. Just a quick rundown: Texas A&M fired Jimbo. They paid so much money, money, and they hired Duke head coach Mike Elko. Sorry, there's 15 openings now. Forgot to put Mike Elko on the board. Michigan State let go of Mel Tucker. They hired Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith, who's bringing a whole lot of his staff with him.
Yep,
that'll be fun.
That crushes Oregon State. We can talk about that later, but like that's got to crush Oregon State.
Like on like 8 levels. That I feel bad. Go Beavs.
Yes, go Beavs.
But Northwestern took the interim tag off of David Braun, who should win Big Ten Coach of the Year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
And Mississippi State hired Oregon OC Jeff Lebby to replace Zach Arnett.
No comment.
None. No comments here. If you would like to understand our comments, please go look up Jeff Lebby on the internet, and you will find his family history and his familial relations are not great. Baylor, that thing. Anyways,
that thing. Well, maybe we can set up like a flight tracker in and out of Murfreesboro to see, where the private planes are coming from and stopping in, and we'll see what happens with that. And honestly, it might be probably something we're going to get to cover, whether it's the 3 of us or Carla, it's you and me, before we're done with the show for the season. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Before we look ahead, we'd like to look back. Carla, did you what caught your eye during Rivalry Week that sticks out with you still today?
I mean, I could talk about a lot of things here, and I will fully admit I was in Cincinnati with my family all weekend, celebrating Thanksgiving. So during some of the primetime games, we were at the aquarium with the kids. So I missed a lot of the like really, really good stuff. However, that being said, the kids all went to bed and I got to watch most of the land grant game. That was a beautiful thing.
Nice.
So I got to watch that, but obviously a lot happened on Saturday. The way that I screamed at the television at 4th and 31.
One of the stupidest plays ever.
No, that didn't just happen. And if you want to see something even funnier, if you haven't seen Herbie and Fowler reacting to that play in the booth,
Google
it.
find.
Hysterical. It's hysterical. But talk about the Iron Bowl is just the gift that keeps on giving. On the 10-year anniversary of the kick 6, we get 4th and 31, and now here we are with the unfathomable in September notion that yes, there is still a way for Bama to get into the playoff, and it's just like here we are. But we'll talk about that when we get into the championship.
I want to say one thing about Nick Saban's interview post game.
Yeah.
So he was asked about the game and how the Iron Bowl always goes, and he literally said, he's like, coming to Jordan Hare, weird stuff happens here.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it, but weird stuff happens here. And sometimes the weird stuff happens. He's like, normally it doesn't happen in our favor. This time it did. So we'll take it. And we love that. But it was very funny to hear Nick Saban talk very candidly about how that game is weird.
Yeah.
And there's you can robot plan out all you want to. Weird crap's going to happen. And he's just like, I don't know, man. Sometimes it happens for us. It doesn't usually happen for us, but this time it did. So that's pretty great.
Yep.
Because he was asked about how his team feels going and how he feels about his team going into playing Georgia in the SEC title game. Spoilers. And he was just like, we got a lot to work on, but he's like, sometimes you just gotta let the good times roll.
Yeah. It's just crazy stuff. And then to be able to close the night out on Farmageddon in the snow. I mean, come on.
That was fantastic.
That was fantastic. I mean, there was 3 inches of snow on the field. that was amazing. So yeah, it was a great weekend of football all the way around, but 4th and 31 was the moment that I was just like, my nephews thought I was crazy. Because I screamed at the TV and they were like, what happened? I was like, Alabama just scored. And of course they don't fully understand everything that's happening there because they're still young. But yeah, that was the highlight, I guess, of my weekend.
Did go back 10 years ago to 10 years ago to the kick six, I ran around my apartment screaming. After the kick six happened, and Abby and my then 1-year-old son, it was 2013. Yeah. The then 1-year-old son were staring at me in like distraught. Like, are you okay? What happened? And I'm like, look, a very stupid thing has happened, and it was amazing, and I got to watch it, and it was incredible, and I lost my mind. So I'm glad that Carla, you got to have that experience.
I was outside decorating, putting up Christmas decorations after Ohio State had beat Michigan that earlier, and I turned the TV so I could just sort of keep track of stuff through the storm door as I was doing this. And we used to do that pretty regularly, AJ. If you recall. But anyway,
I don't know. I don't know if I heard you correctly there, Mike. What'd you say happened?
20 years actually. But we'll get to that. And so I'm jumping up and down on my front porch with Christmas lights in both hands. My phone is blowing up because I think Carla, you were texting me, and Kelly Krieg was texting me. It's like, did you see? So yeah, that is one of the college football things that I will always remember, and it's very much like the college football version of the Kennedy assassination, where I remember where I was. AJ, anything to stick out for you from last weekend?
All right, 2 things I'm going to talk about. One happened very, very early on. One happened on Friday, the first game of the day on Friday. The other happened in the very, very, very last game on Saturday. On Friday, we had Iowa and Nebraska.
Yes, we did.
Which had at the time, and it still does, I think it has the record now for the lowest fun index since fun indexes have been tracked. It, like, nothing's been lower than this. And I said, hammer the under. And I was right. Because it is 10-10, tied, 54 seconds left in the game.
And yeah.
Iowa throws a pick. Nebraska gets the ball on their like 47, I think. They get the ball basically midfield.
Yeah.
And they've got 54 seconds to drive into field goal range.
20 yards.
And score.
Get 20 yards, yeah.
20 yards. Surely Nebraska can do something like that. Nope. 2 plays later, Nebraska throws a pick to Iowa. On the ensuing play, Iowa runs for 22 yards. They kick a field goal, and they win the game 13-10, and the under was saved because there was no chance that it was going to be, if the under was going to carry through overtime, unless they went 0-0 into the 2-point shootout until somebody scored 2. Which was the only way this would have gotten any better. Okay.
And let's be real, that's plausible in this situation.
It is. I mean, there's something that they would have been able to figure out to make that work. Unbelievable.
On the other side of this, we go to the islands.
Okay.
And I'm watching my beloved Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. They're playing Colorado State. What have I been saying all year about Colorado State? They're a chaos team. You don't know what you're getting week to week. And you have 2 quarterbacks who, shout out to the Sickos committee, have the greatest stat of all time, the Detmer, which is, it's about throwing and just throwing the football. You're just going to throw the football a lot. You're going to throw for a bunch of yards. You're going to throw a bunch of touchdowns. You're probably going to throw a bunch of picks too. But it's just dudes hucking it, right? And Hawaii and Colorado State's quarterbacks are 2 of the highest in Detmer. So you have 2 dudes who are just not afraid to throw the football, and whatever happens at the end of the play. Colorado State gets to a 4th down with like a minute and change left. And Hawaii looks like they've got it stuffed. And all of a sudden there's a Colorado State receiver running for a 70-yard touchdown to go down and tie the game. Colorado goes for 2. They tie the game. They needed 8. They got 8. They've tied the game. So Hawaii gets the ball back. And they've got about 50 some seconds to get into field goal range from the 25. They get a bunch of plays. They get a couple 10-yard chunk plays. They get a 15-yard chunk play. They get down into field goal territory with 8 seconds left. Now the guy goes out of bounds and they stop the clock. But then the clock started again after that. I don't know why. So there's 8 seconds and it just ticks. And all of a sudden Hawaii realizes the clock is ticking down. So they execute the TCU rush field goal play. They run onto the field. The kicker runs into position. You see him tap his toe once, ball gets snapped, and he nails a 40-yard field goal to win the game.
Wow. That's fantastic.
To remind you,
yes,
where Timmy Chang, the head coach of Hawaii, came from, he was Nevada's wide receiver coach under Jay Norvell. Jay Norvell goes to Colorado State. So before the game, Timmy Chang gave him a lay. Jay Norvell had a lay on during the game, and it was a beautiful game, and it happened at like 2-something in the morning. It was very stupid, but it was great. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Hawaii, go Buzz.
I was going to say those bookends. There is no more Kuftic-esque example of college football. That's just there. It is. It is perfectly encapsulated with those two games right there.
I mean, listen, I have unconventional desires. And it's Iowa football and Hawaii football. It's the same thing. That's all.
My weekend obviously was colored by one game in particular. It was gut-wrenching, but in a different way than the past 2 years. In both of those cases, the games are shocking is in that there didn't seem to be a whole lot of fight out of Ohio State. Michigan dropped a hammer on a couple plays, and then just steamrolled Ohio State, both once in Ann Arbor and once in Columbus that I had the pleasure to witness firsthand last fall. I did not see that this time. This team did not roll over and die. This team worked hard. The effort was there, but it felt, and this is the disturbing thing, and this might be even more disturbing. This felt like a Cooper era loss in that the coaching staff was calling a scared game, and maybe they know something that Kyle McCord isn't ready to do this. I don't know, but which team called a halfback pass? Right? Was it the underdog, the visitor? No, it wasn't. Which team screwed around at the end of the first half so they could try a field goal that was well outside their kicker's comfort zone?
Man, when has that ever come back to bite the Ohio State Buckeyes? It can't have been. I don't know. Literally at the stroke of midnight.
Really
to start 2023.
Really don't know. Which team never even gave a try for a 4th down conversion? If you're the underdog in a game like this, if you're the road team in a game like this, the conventional wisdom is that you don't have anything to lose. And I would argue that against Minnesota or against Maryland, the Ohio State's coaching staff shows some imagination. But John Cooper got in the situations, he had no idea. He had no idea how to deal with it. So he dealt with it by just calling a super conservative game plan that didn't let his players play. And he had the best players in the country. John Cooper was great at that part. And I've said all season, Ohio State's better on the edges than anybody. Great running back. Obviously the defense was so much better, but they didn't get a chance to play. So I don't know. I insinuated at the beginning of the season that I would suspect that Ryan Day's job would be in trouble if he lost for a 3rd time. I don't think that's the case. But we're in a situation that feels I'm in a situation that feels uncomfortable and familiar, and I'm not liking it much.
I mean, I'll say the defense showed up.
They did, absolutely.
They had, I mean, they held Michigan to 338 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They were 3 for 12 on third down. They had 17-21 for 182 for McCarthy. They held Michigan's like rushing attack to 156 yards. Like, they had every opportunity. They threw 2 picks and they only lost by a score. They were in this game. They just did not show up. There are
little
things.
The
same thing that happened. Yes. This is what you were just talking about. There's little things. They played scared, and they did this again. They did this against Georgia in the playoff last year. They got out to a lead. It looked like they were going to cruise. They were going to go to the national championship game, no problem. Harrison gets knocked out. Obviously, that's a blow.
Yeah,
but it's not like you don't have 3 other NFL caliber receivers in that receiver room. It's not like he's your 1-star receiver and everybody else is bad. It's you have Igbuka, you have all of these other guys who got drafted in the first round last year. Guys, you had people. This is evident in the Ryan Day play calling at the end of the playoff game, where he played for the field goal to kick to win at his kicker's literal career long.
Yes.
He did not try on 3 plays to get even 1 yard ahead. And that's the thing. You said it. And by the way, the meanest thing somebody from Columbus can say is this was a John Cooper era game. That's the meanest thing anybody from Columbus can say right now.
John Cooper was trending on Twitter X today. And I'm like, aha, I know what everyone's thinking.
Listen, you have to go out. Carla, what did Herm Edwards say? You play
to win.
Win the game.
You play to win the game, right? Ryan Day does not play to win the game. Ryan Day plays assuming he's going to win the game. And against
he can play to win the game
other teams
against Illinois or Indiana. He does fine.
Hey, real quick, when did Ohio State run a fake punt this year?
I think officially those were all miscommunications.
Sure. There were a number of fake punts that were run this year because he got the look or whatever. And it's like, did he not get the look against Michigan? Or did you not call the fake punt? Stop it. And you can't even claim stolen signs or whatever, because they can steal all the signs you'd like to. They still beat you. Full stop.
Yep.
And this is the part that I think people in the Ohio State Athletics Administration need to potentially take some looks at to say, what the heck was this? You lost 3 in a row. You have not beaten Michigan in the 2020s.
And there was discussion after last year's game about whether or not the Hartline was elevated to offensive coordinator, if that would come with play calling duties. And back at that point, Ryan was like, well, we're going to take a look at that. And, everything's on the table. And then beginning of the season, Ryan's like, no, I'm calling plays.
Hey, you know what other very large school had a coach that was well known for their offense, but also made terrible coaching decisions from time to time, and then brought in an offensive coordinator, and then was told that he had to give up play calling duties, but then he didn't really give up play calling duties, and then ended up getting fired.
Who was that be?
It's Texas A&M.
Oh,
that'd be Texas A&M.
Right. Yeah, the Jimbo Fisher guy.
That seems weird. It seems weird. I wonder if they need a coach now.
I don't. That's
Oh no, they don't. They got Mike Elko. That's right. Never mind. Dang, the dream of getting Ryan Day out of here and giving him oil money.
How that one was going to turn out? So anyway,
can I just go on the record before you move on?
Please do.
Hi from this Penn State fan who has felt the exact same way against 2 particular teams.
Yes.
Well, welcome to my boat. There's plenty of room here.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I do.
I mean, I figured that boat had 106,782 seats. Did I get that? Did I get that number right off the top of the dome?
I'd have to look.
I think I'm pretty
We'll
close.
double check. We'll double check. But when I'm editing the show, there will be something on the screen. If you are correct, there will be something on the screen and in the show notes that says yes. You pulled that off right at the top of your head. I think it's got to end with a 1, though. I think that's the seat that they save for Fielding Yost. That would be my only, if I remember this, the legend of the that team in particular.
Well,
Carla.
I was referring to Beaver Stadium.
Oh, Beavers. Okay.
And
I don't know Fielding Yost.
I just looked it up. I was off by 200.
Ah. I don't think Fielding Yost has a seat in Beaver Stadium. Does that? No. Okay.
No.
Carla.
Yes.
Think back. It's 7 or 8 years ago. You and I became enamored with a young quarterback at Auburn named Bo Nix.
Yes.
Do you remember those days?
I do.
How innocent he was?
We had an excuse to talk about Auburn every week because we wanted to talk about Bo Nix.
It could be that when the Touchdown Club in New York City or whatever they're called it announces the winner of this year's Heisman Trophy, that our little Bo Nix will be up on that stage with his hands on that trophy. I know, AJ, you don't. This we go back a long ways with Bo.
Listen,
for the 8 years of his college career.
I love nothing more than Bo Nix, number one, just flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
But all quarterbacks who get like a raw deal in the SEC, go to the West Coast and flourish, please.
Hell yes.
Yep.
This is what the death of the Pac-12 is going to do. It's ruining college quarterback flourish regions.
Redemption.
Redemption. Because you could go look at the one of the other people who are potentially up for a Heisman for the same thing.
Exactly.
But I look at I love that Bo got to go out there, but I also love the fact that Bo got an NIL deal before he left Oregon, or before he left Auburn to go to Oregon, which was with Milo's Sweet Tea, and that is the most Auburn NIL deal possible.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Just you got a Sweet Tea NIL deal because your name is Bo Nix and your daddy played for Pat Dye. Like, incredible work.
Anyway, guys, I wanted to get from you. Again, this is the last time we'll be talking before the Heisman is awarded to somebody. I wanted to get your give me 4 finalists and who's gonna win, and if you have strong thoughts about who should win versus who's gonna win, tell us that too. AJ, what do you think?
My 4, in no particular order. I do have Bo Nix on my Heisman ballot. I'm not a Heisman voter, so I can tell you what my ballot is. I have Michael Penix. It's a thing. They get real bent out of shape about it.
Sure. Yep. I have friends who are Heisman voters, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Michael Penix. I have Michael Penix Jr. on the other side of the Pac-12 championship game. I want to give a shout out to Ollie Gordon, the running back at Oklahoma State, who has been playing his ass off and is one of the very significant reasons why Oklahoma State is in the Big 12 title game after losing, getting absolutely drubbed by South Alabama. That he is one of the reasons. There's a story, I forget where it is, probably The Athletic, where Mike Gundy basically talks about how they changed their offense. They basically looked at what they had and they said, we have this really great running back. Let's run the damn football.
Let's do something with this dude.
And let's do with that. So Ollie Gordon is great. He should be there. And Jaden Daniels, quarterback at LSU. Just an absolute incredible season that he's had. And I have Jaden Daniels as my Heisman winner.
Okay.
He's top 5 in passing, and he's number 21 in rushing yards of all rushers, not just quarterbacks. Right. All rushers. The man has 1,000 yards rushing and like 3,500 yards passing. It is an insane level of statistics, and he looks like he is a wet towel in terms of his shape as a human being. He is a noodle. Right. And I love him for this. He played like his hair was on fire at Arizona State under Herm. He goes to the SEC. He does a reverse Bo Nix. He goes from the Pac-12 to the SEC. Apparently that works too. And he flourishes at LSU. And every Florida fan can attest to this, that Jaden Daniels will cook your team alive if you let him. And he, I think, deserves to be the Heisman winner this year.
Okay. Carla, your finalists and your winner.
So I agree with three of the finalists there. I like your Ollie pick from Oklahoma State. Bo Nix, Penix, Jaden Daniels. And I was torn on my fourth. I think you can make a really strong case for Marvin Harrison Jr. being a significant impact player for a team that is playing at a high level. The catch against that is the fact that he's not the nation's leading receiver, and it's not really even close. So like, while I would like to see him there because of the impact he has had, I don't know if the numbers really back it up. Who I would like to see is the number 2 rusher in the country, and that is Missouri's Cody Schrader. I raved about him a couple weeks ago when he just played a game, and I said, some NFL team needs to draft this kid because he just has the mettle. He has the game knowledge. He's a senior, the number 2 rusher in the country. And you can say that he's arguably one of the biggest impact players for a team in the nation right now, for a Missouri team that came out of nowhere. So I would put Cody Schrader there as my fourth. Jaden Daniels has the talent to be the Heisman winner. He's proven that time and time again. Here's the problem with Heisman voters. LSU is not nationally relevant. And so what I think is going to happen here is, like it or not, Daniels is going to finish third in the vote. And I think the winner of the winner of the Pac-12 title game, whichever quarterback that is the quarterback that's going to take home the Heisman Trophy this year. Right now, I'm leaning Bo Nix. But I think that's the way the Heisman voters will go, is the team that wins that game, that essentially punches their ticket to the playoff. That's the quarterback that's going to win.
Okay. I am Marv is my token non-quarterback among the finalists, and I understand that the numbers aren't. He's not one of the leading receivers in the country. I don't think. I think his importance to a relevant program is outsized enough that he's going to be a Heisman finalist. The other three: Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. I am a huge Jaden Daniels fan. I find myself just kind of getting hypnotized when I'm watching an LSU game and seeing what he does. His motion, whether he's throwing the ball or running the ball, is just effortless, smooth as silk. And he is absolutely a killer if he's given the opportunity. Having said that, and this is part of the reason why I introduced this program, Carla, with this part of the program with Bo Nix, I think even with a narrow loss to Washington in the title game, I feel like Bo Nix is going to get this something of a lifetime achievement award, maybe. But I think Bo Nix is going to be my pick. I would love to see it be Daniels. It would be a lot of fun if it was neither of the Pac-12 guys. But yeah, I think Bo Nix is going to be the guy, and we will find that out. Obviously, this coming weekend could have a lot to do with how that's going to go, and we're going to talk about this coming. Yeah.
I would say that Bo Nix, if he plays well. In the Pac-12 championship game, like, this is where Penix or Bo Nix can make their final case. Jaden Daniels obviously is done. I know that Heisman voters are like, they're not a national relevant team. Sorry, they're 9-3 and they're in the SEC. Like, they get a lot of eyeballs on him, and it's hard to argue with. Dude is a quarterback in the SEC and got 3,500 passing yards, 1,100 yards rushing. But I do think that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. have the driver's seat to it, and this is where I think the Pac-12 tripped over their own 2 feet and got it right by having the Friday night championship game. Because there's nothing else on. They have the entire world to themselves, and it's on ABC. It's not on Fox. It's not buried somewhere else. It is on ABC prime time, because you have a number 3 and number 5 team playing each other. So this is a big deal. And they're not playing it in Big Jeans. They're playing it in Vegas.
I was going to say, not in Santa Clara this time. No.
No. So it's number 6 Oregon at number 4 Washington. Just for a point in time here, we were recording this on Monday, the 27th. The new rankings have not come out yet. So if you're like, oh, their numbers are wrong, that's why. Okay,
that is why.
Just that's the time of recording.
And that is
so
that is a really good point, and I was going to make. These numbers are not only going to be incorrect, but they're going to be significantly incorrect, because it does not take into account Ohio State's loss as an example. Fill in the blanks for your rankings as you're listening to the show later this week. As is the case with many things that we pay attention to in the college football world, the games tend to sort themselves out, and we have a bunch of games. All of the FBS conference championship games, we're going to cover them all here. That is why Carla and I are here. That is why AJ is here, because he's going to help us as the country's foremost group of 5 college football expert. You keep making that face, and I'm leaning into this. That's what I'm doing. That's what I choose to do. We begin at 7 p.m. on Friday on the Network of Champions, the CBSSN Conference No-USA. New Mexico State versus number 25 Liberty. Liberty is favored by 10. The AJ Fun Index is a 54.5 points. AJ, we're going to let you get first crack at this. What do you think?
I would love nothing more than for New Mexico State to beat the Flames. Because one, but also New Mexico State could do the funniest thing ever, which is come off of beating Auburn in Jordan-Hare like it's hard. And look at you, Alabama. I want to point out that New Mexico State went and played that same Auburn team in the same stadium and didn't have to have a 4th and 31 to win. They won by 3 touchdowns. That would
definitely count as one of the weird things that Nick Saban was talking about. That had to be in the back of his mind somewhere. But yes, that is that is a.
Had Auburn won that game, we would have ended up with one of the best transitive properties loops of all time.
Oh man, that'd be fantastic.
Because you know who would have had a transitive win over Alabama?
Everyone.
UMass.
Yes.
Yep.
UMass beat New Mexico State at the very, very beginning of the season, way back in week 0. And everybody got excited that Don Brown might be turning it around up there in Amherst. It didn't work out. We're way off track. Back to the CUSA.
Yes.
I'm calling the CUSA forever. Don't ever do that. New Mexico State.
Yes.
They are playing incredibly well. Liberty is a really, really, really good football team. They have a ton of talent. There's a reason they are 11 or 12-0. But let's go Aggies. Wobble on.
I like it. Carla, what do you have going on here?
Very similar assessment here. Yes, I know Liberty is undefeated. Yes, they're playing at home. Yes, they have the highest scoring offense in the conference, and it's not even close. But New Mexico State has the top scoring defense in the conference. And the best win, hands down, in the conference in, I don't know, a whole bunch of years. And add that to the fact that Jerry Kill is just super easy to root for.
Yes.
Go do this, Aggies. Please. Go win yourself a conference title.
I like it. Jerry Kill, I'm a Jerry Kill fan. I have been since he took over the program in Minnesota. super popular, was turning that program around to, I mean, to make it a respectable degree until he had to retire for health reasons, I think, in 2015. Look at he's doing the same thing. It is happening with the Aggies, who were 2-10 in 1921. Kill shows up for the 22 season. The Aggies finished 6-6 and beat Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl. This year, the Aggies were bowl eligible by the end of October. They're now 10-3. They're playing for a title. Jerry Kill is the kind of guy who gets every drop out of his players and then maybe a couple drops more. And that's the kind of thing that you need to win championships. I think the Aggies upset the Fightin' Falwells and win the CUSA title. Also, and and we mentioned this before. This is gonna this game, perhaps the most important game of the weekend. Maybe 8 p.m. Friday on the American Broadcasting Company, the Pac-12 Conference, the final Pac-12 championship ever. At least as far as we can see, number 6 Oregon versus number 4 Washington. The Ducks are favored by 9.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 66.5. Carla, we're just going to kind of alternate here. So Carla, what do you think about this one?
Clear your calendars.
Yeah.
Nothing on your schedule on Friday night. This is going to be the best game of championship weekend, hands down. The last 3 weeks, Washington has won. They have looked incredibly mortal. They have had to eke out wins with some late game heroics each of the last 3 weeks. On the other side of this game, since their loss to Washington in mid-October, Oregon, for the most part, has just steamrolled everybody, like to the point that it's not even close, right? And their defense has actually gotten better as the season has gone on. This game absolutely lived up to expectations the first time around. I expect it to do the same here. However, I see a reverse outcome here. I think Oregon is the team that has the momentum, that has improved steadily throughout the season. Playing this at a neutral site, give me the Ducks to create some chaos here for the playoff committee. But let me throw in here.
Please do.
If Oregon does win this game and you have a 1-loss Oregon and a 1-loss Washington, the committee needs to seriously consider putting both of these teams in the playoff. I think it needs to be a consideration here, as opposed to some of the other conferences. These are the two of the best teams in the country right now. Committee, consider both of them if the outcome it comes in this way. That would make
sense. That would make sense football wise. Also would be kind of a, well, I mean, on the West Coast you have the Hollywood storybook ending, so maybe that kind of fits into that as well. AJ, what do you think about this game?
I'm on board with what Carla was saying.
Okay.
Oregon broke the Arizona curse. They went to Arizona and they put, like, Arizona State, a team of ankle biters, as I've been saying all season. That's the type of trap game that previous Oregon teams would go to Arizona, and then Arizona State would do weird stuff, and Oregon loses a stupid game that they absolutely should not have lost. They were up 42-0 at halftime. They said, no, you are not going to bite our ankles. We're going to bury you in this dirt. And it is like Dan Lanning and that team, they play a completely different way. If you haven't watched any Oregon football this year, I need you to know this. They are not the Chip Kelly Oregon Ducks.
Nope.
They play, listen, if there's a team currently ready to come to the Big Ten in a real way, it is Oregon.
Absolutely.
They will beat you into the ground, but they do it with really good skill players. Bucky Irving is incredible. You have Bo Nix as your quarterback. You have really good receivers, and then a defense that wants you to never move again. It is a lot. And also, to Carla's point, Washington has been playing with their food recently. They should not have had to kick a game-winning field goal against Washington State. I will give credit to Oregon State, one, because they're a very good football team, but two, Mother Nature.
Yeah.
The game that Washington wants to play for a solid 3/4 of that game was basically impossible because there was a literal swimming pool being dumped on them the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to begrudge the Washington Oregon State outcome. There was a lot of rain and slop to that game, but they have looked really mortal. The Arizona State game comes to mind. I watched that entire game where like Arizona State had them in hell in Seattle. And there was like a very real chance on multiple occasions that they were not going to be able to eke that one out. And then they did. Mm-hmm. So Washington has played these like really like close games. To be fair, they're winning all of them. And there is a skill in that. There is a skill in going out and winning a game that is close, there is a chance that you go lose this game. Oregon has been absolutely steamrolling people. I see the Ducks doing that to Washington and getting their win back, which means both of these teams effectively have a win and a loss over each other, which is negated. Oregon then gets into the playoff guaranteed, in my opinion. One loss, they are a one-loss conference champion. What does that mean? You're in the playoff. At that point, you get a one-loss Washington team that is potentially on the outside looking in, even though they shouldn't be. We'll talk about that in a moment, though. Crappy, what do you got?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. There is value in Washington winning games as they have been winning games recently. There is value in knowing how to do that, in overcoming weather and overcoming an unexpected opponent. Through much of the season, Washington felt like this again, Hollywood storybook, the team of destiny, that sort of thing. And its most recent outings, all tight wins against Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, they've just been decent. I'm not sure decent's good enough. Oregon, on the other hand, has looked like at times it could be the best team in the country, especially in the latter half of the season. I would think they'd be ranked. They'd be in the top 4 right now if it was not for the loss to the Huskies. I'm betting they remember that as well, and it's going to be on their minds Friday night. Ducks will take revenge, and the Ducks will win the last ever Pac-12 championship. Those are the games on Friday. We begin at noon on Saturday on, again, the American Broadcasting Company, the Big 12 Conference Championship, number 22 Oklahoma State versus number 7 Texas. The Horns are favored by 14.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is an odd 55.5 points. Okay. AJ, what do you think about this one?
I think this was one of those like weird scenarios that could have come up where Oklahoma State more or less sort of backed their way in into the championship game. Texas went out and took care of business against Texas Tech, and they just went right in. Their loss against Oklahoma is kind of looming at this point. I think Texas needs to win this to get into the playoff. I don't think obviously if Texas loses their 2-loss team, they're out of the playoff. Texas needs to win this to get into the playoff in a full-throated way. Mm-hmm. I think Oklahoma State has been kind of up and down, but they've been winning some weird games lately. The one problem that Oklahoma State had is there was like a moment. It was right after the Oklahoma game. They had an ultimate letdown game where they beat Oklahoma in the last Bedlam game. They were riding high. Then they go play UCF and lose by 42. Like it was the ultimate letdown game. I've never seen a letdown game harder.
'Twas rough for sure.
And then after that, Houston and BYU, like, they just played kind of rope-a-dope. Like they put everything into Bedlam, not thinking they were going to get their way to the Big 12 title game, and kind of flopped their way through the flopped their way through the last 4 games. I think Oklahoma State will make this tough. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I don't know if you guys know this. Have you guys seen Texas's defensive line, and specifically, is it DeMarcus Swift? I wanted to say DeAndre Swift, but he was the running back for Georgia who now plays for the Eagles.
Correct.
I think it's DeMarcus Swift. He is an absolute monster.
Mm-hmm.
He is 390 pounds. He plays defensive line, and he moves linemen like children. It is go ahead and attempt to run into the middle of that line. Ollie Gordon, the previously mentioned Heisman candidate for me,
right?
Mr. Swift will escort you swiftly into the ground. So I think Texas is going to come out. They're going to play super hard because they know they have to win. That said, Texas has been playing with their food, everybody. Texas has had a number of wobbly wins. And I'm not talking the good wobble like the New Mexico State Aggies. Real wobbly wins in the last couple of weeks. They need to come out and show without a shadow of a doubt. This is a 9-3 team. We're gonna beat them like they're 3-9, and get them out of the paint quickly, early, and often, and show that they deserve to be into the playoff.
Okay, Carla, what you got for this one?
Yeah, a lot of similar notes here for in my research for this game. Although it is worth noting, remarkably, somehow we managed to get a Big 12 title game that isn't a rematch. Which is slightly shocking in and of itself. These teams have not played each other yet this year. Neither of these teams do much to defend the pass. So expect some big plays offensively from the passing games, because, it's the Big 12, secondary optional. The big difference here is what AJ just mentioned, right? Texas is really, really, really good at stuffing the run.
Yeah.
And when you have an Oklahoma State team that has revamped its offense around Ollie Gordon, that's going to be a problem. You're going to put the entire offense for Oklahoma State on the shoulders of Alan Bowman. Is he a good quarterback? Sure. Is he a great quarterback that by himself can go win a Big 12 title? I don't think so. And again, this is a Pokes team that struggled with BYU last weekend. Never mind what AJ mentioned about UCF, right? I think Texas wins here. And I think AJ's right. I think if Texas can make a huge statement in this game and plays Oklahoma State like a 3-9 team, I think they can make an interesting conversation about the playoff. I don't know if they've got enough to get in at this point. You have to see how everything shakes out this weekend, but they need to win big and convincingly here to have even a shot at this. Okay. So Horns win. They take the Big 12 trophy and go home to the SEC. Take the ball and go home. But yeah, Horns win, and then we'll see how it all plays out.
I would like to, one slight correction. It was Tavondre Sweat. Sorry, I called him
okay.
Swift.
Okay.
Tavondre Sweat. He is 6'4", 362. He is a senior and a large gentleman. Good for you, Texas.
Grown big. That's been it, and that whole unit, the defensive line, is intimidating as hell, and for good reason. They're good. So we have an Oklahoma team, we have a Texas team. We can't call this a Red River rivalry because it's not. I was kicking around alternates. The Texarkana tangle doesn't exactly work because it doesn't involve the Oklahoma border, although it's very close. There's the Wichita Falls whooping, maybe. We could just punt and call it the Joust and the Jerry Dome. I don't know that it matters a whole lot what we call it. Even with some games that have been kind of so far this season, Texas is eyeing a berth in the Final Four. They will be paying full attention, and the Longhorns will beat the Cowboys, and perhaps earn themselves a position in the Final Four. Also at noon on Saturday, this game is on ESPN. The Mid-American Conference Champinchip. Who goes first this time? Carla, I think you do. Miami versus Toledo. Toledo is favored by 8 points. The AJ Fun Index is 44.5. Yeah, Carla, you are up for this one.
Okay. So Maction, I like to watch it. Do I take a lot of notes during Maction? No, I don't. But here's what I know. Toledo has consistently been the best team in the MAC all year. They have, excuse me, a really good defense, a solid offense, and they're going up against a Miami team that has a pretty good defense, but mortable. Shall we use that word with the MAC team? Not really as consistent as we've seen out of the Rockets this year. So I'm going to say, because they've been the best team all year, that Toledo wins the MAC championship game. And I'm going to shut up because AJ knows a heck of a lot more about this game than I do.
AJ, is this true?
No.
Okay.
This is I think this is the like one time that you have a like it's been a minute since we've had like a really, really good MAC team. Like the last one I can think of is like PJ Flex Western Michigan, where it's like, oh, this team is 11-1. They're not playing around. They like the only team I think Toledo lost to. They played, was it San Diego State? No, it was Illinois, and they almost beat Illinois in the opener. So there was a chance that you have a undefeated MAC team playing for the MAC championship. Miami of Ohio, as Crappy grits his teeth hard enough that I can hear them click.
Boo!
He just says it like that. Toledo has a very good defense. Miami does not have as good of an offense. I think this is where the question is going to be: can Toledo's offense overcome Miami's very, very good defense? They've only given up 86 points in conference from Miami. That's just about 10 a game. They're very, very good on defense. Can Toledo pick it up? Can they actually go score a bunch of points? And can they hold Miami back? I am going to say that Toledo is going to win the football game because I think they've finally gotten to that point of they need to get over the hump and they actually need to win it and say that they're a 12-1 MAC champion. I think that would be great. So Toledo wins.
Okay. This is one of the two games in our list today where I am motivated by hatred. In this case, my hatred of Miami University. The bad part, of course, I appreciate that. Thank you. Is it the Red Whatevers beat my Bobcats in the Battle of the Breaks earlier this season, ending whatever hopes I had of getting a second a shot at the MAC title for a second year in a row. The reality is, even with a shot at a second at a MAC championship for the second year in a row, we would be faced with the daunting task of having to beat Toledo. And that is a chore. For the reasons you guys have so eloquently enumerated, Toledo is too good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They will have the Rockets. The Rockets will have the championship on repeat. And they will beat Miami in this game in lovely downtown Detroit at 3 p.m. on Saturday. This game is on Fox. The Mountain West Conference. Boise State and UNLV. Boise is favored by 2.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a 58.5 point. That's a respectable number. This game, of course, is in Las Vegas. And AJ, of course, as we mentioned before, predicted this before the Mountain West did whatever it did with computer rankings and stats and stuff. So it's only fair that we let AJ go get the first crack at this one.
I think we just need to give UNLV their flowers. They were not good last year. They were a truly terrible football team last year. And this year they're hosting the conference championship game. So great job, Barry Odom, Brennan Marion, as I mentioned, for the Middle Tennessee job. They have put together a really, really, really good year. San Jose State was a good football team. I was not surprised that they did win. They're a good football team, and they took 2 sad losses in the middle of the season, but otherwise unblemished. They beat the pants off of everybody else. So to see them get a win in Las Vegas over UNLV on senior day for UNLV was a big deal. I think UNLV wants to save face. Boise State comes into this game with an interim head coach. They fired Andy Avalos 3 weeks ago, and since then, or 2 weeks ago, and since then, Boise's reeled off 2 straight wins, and they're in the conference championship game.
Hello.
Weird. Yeah. That's weird. But I will say, UNLV is the better football team. a wild statement to say in the year of our Lord 2023. But UNLV is the better football team, and to be entirely honest, I'm going to put the chips on it.
Just look at that.
Chips.
For those of you who are listening to the podcast, they're actual chips, gambling chips that AJ just held up for the camera. Carla, can you top that?
I can't top that. I can steal what I've learned from listening to AJ over the last regular season.
That's good enough. Podcast, that's good enough.
And say that Boise isn't Boise this year, although they have had a couple of really good wins last couple of weeks. UNLV playing at home. Barry Odom's did a heck of a job in his first year. Also, fun fact, Fresno beat both of these teams, so that's fun. Got to believe that Fresno's kind of feeling like, hey, wait a minute. But that being said,
Fresno lost a bunch of other games that they should not have. You lost to New Mexico. That's how that goes. You don't get to be in the conference championship game. You lose to New Mexico.
Yeah, that's kind of tough.
But you have to. They have to be sitting at home going, "What if?" Right? To have beaten both these teams playing for the conference title. But no, I'm with AJ on this one. I think UNLV is the better football team here. They're playing at home. Yeah, UNLV wins the Mountain West. Who knew?
I will point out about that Fresno game that the UNLV had a shot to win that game and had a wide open receiver. The ball got to him and it literally went through his hands and hit him in the helmet. And it bounced off his helmet, and Fresno took over on downs and iced the game. So UNLV should have won that Fresno game, in my opinion. But yeah, UNLV is the best team in the Mountain West. They need to come out and really show it. And them beating Boise would be a big deal. Capital B, capital D. Big deal.
Okay. The fact that this the Broncos eventually put together a solid year on the Smurf turf. This game is not being played on the Smurf turf. It's in Vegas, and that's why I am giving the Rebels an edge for the Mountain West title. That and AJ said that's what I should do. At 4 p.m. on Saturday, the American Broadcasting Company, the American Athletic Conference. So we have A, B, C, and AC for those of you who are keeping track at home. SMU at number 22, Tulane. The Wave is favored by 4 points. The AJ Fund Index is 50.5. Carla, it is your turn to go first. What do you think about this game?
To steal the moniker from my friend Chris Childers, who hosts on Sirius XM, the Show Ponies. The Show Ponies at SMU.
Right.
They can do some showing. They play some good offense.
They do show.
They can put up some big offensive numbers. They're going to give Tulane's defense a real test here.
Mm-hmm.
But we're saying that, and Tulane's only loss was that showdown with Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
And had everybody stayed healthy in that Tulane game, we could again be talking about an undefeated Tulane.
Could be.
And so, no, is this the same Green Wave team that beat USC in the bowl game last year? No, they're not. But I think the low fun index in this game is a testament to that Green Wave defense.
Yes. And
they're playing at home. Give me Tulane to win the American again.
AJ, what do you think?
This game is going to be a much stupider game than anybody gives it credit for. I will say, Tulane is currently favored by 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and get that. SMU's quarterback, Preston Stone, who had been playing fantastically over the past 6 weeks, is out for this game. So SMU was without their starting quarterback in the conference championship game against a Tulane team that decided, hey, we're tired of messing around. We would not like to find out. We've almost found out on a number of occasions here. Let's not do that anymore. And so this is where I'm happy to see this. Tulane is going to go win the football game. I think if they win the AAC, they are likely the G5 New Year's 6 bowl participant.
Cool.
I don't see them. I don't see anybody else really coming after them. Tulane is 11-1. They would be 12-1 and a conference champion. The only other team that I think is even in that realm is the Flames of Lynchburg, Virginia. And maybe, but I would say that they would give the nod to Tulane over the Flames of Lynchburg, Virginia. I will not say their name. I think Tulane is the New Year's Six pick, and they have a fairly straightforward shot at it.
Especially since we all three of us picked the Fightin' Falwells to lose in their title game. So then yeah, this becomes a sort of a play-in situation. Tulane's given up 28 points, 10 points, 22 points, 8 points, and 16 points in their last 5 games to the individual opponents that I'm not going to go back and look up. That in any league, in any situation, is a fantastic defense. You would have pause to if you were thinking that SMU's offense was at full speed and coming into this game, as AJ said, that is not the case. The other thing, just besides excellent defense, as we are all aware, Tulane's been in this position before, and parlayed that into a bowl victory over USC a year ago. This time, the Waves beat the Show Ponies, and I agree with AJ's assessment. I think this is your pick for the New Year's Six representative from the G5 at 4 p.m. On Saturday. Where were we? Carla, you get this one. No, yes, Carla, you get this one first. On ESPN, the Sun Belt Conference, Appalachian State versus Troy. Troy is favored by 6.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 51.5. Carla, I'm wearing an Appalachian State hat for a reason. I'll let that be foreshadowing. What do you think about this game?
I'm of the same boat of you here, right? Like this is Troy should win this game. Mm-hmm. Troy is the better team here. Troy should win this game. But when the opponent in this game is Appalachian State, you have to go, right? This is an Appy State team that consistently, it's become their brand. They consistently win games that they are declared that they are not going to win. We saw them do it against James Madison, and for the record, James Madison should be in this game, but that's another conversation.
That's a whole other thing,
right? They knocked off James Madison. They've done this with other Power 5 teams over the course of the past several years. If I'm Troy, I'm nervous in this game. Troy is playing at home. If this game was in Boone, I would say all bets are off. But Troy is playing at home. They are the better team here. They should win this game. But this game should be pretty entertaining, just because you have Appy State on the other side. I'll pick Troy with a great deal of hesitation.
Okay. AJ, what can you tell us about the Fun Belt?
Troy's good.
Okay.
And App State has had a number of various games this year where it's just they looked great against James Madison.
They did.
They held James Madison down at James Madison. That game was 10-5 at halftime, which is a beautiful score. But they had to go to overtime because they had some lapses at the end of the game. They could have closed the door on JMU and just couldn't do it. They did close the door on a Southern Miss team that was not good this year. It was in Boone, and Southern Miss looked like they were going to walk away with a win convincingly, and App State stormed back and won. They've been shifty this year. Troy has not. Troy has been one thing, and that is very, very good. Troy Trojans, they're going to win.
Okay. Appy loves messing with the superior opponents. The aforementioned James Madison. They gave North Carolina all the Tar Heels could handle once again. It's a chance that they could win the North Carolina State Championship. But they have not been consistent, and I really want them to be. And I think, in spite of being, in spite of probably knowing better, because I will acknowledge that Troy is the better football team, and at 7-1, 10-2 on the season, that is a solid year in any league. I'm picking Appy State to win this just because I feel like it, and why the hell not? At 4 p.m. also on Saturday, on CBS, the Southeastern Conference Championship, #1 Georgia versus #8 Alabama. Georgia is favored by, check this out, Georgia is favored by 5.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a 55.5 number. AJ, what do you think about this one?
Who are these teams?
Georgia and what's Alabama? Georgia.
Oh wait, no, hold on. This is Georgia Southern. You meant Georgia Southern, right?
I didn't.
No.
Just the plain.
Right.
Just the
I'm
plain
guessing
old Georgia without the suffix or the. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, hold on. I've heard of Georgia. They have this guy named Brock Bowers.
Bulldogs. Hedges.
Do we know
Hedges? They have hedges inside the stadium.
They have Oh no, I just saw a video where somebody walked through the stadium. Never mind.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now.
Okay.
They had a doghouse. So
they do.
Yes. Is Brock Bowers playing? Do we know?
I as far as I know, he is. It's Monday.
If Brock Bowers is playing,
yeah,
I will take Georgia. I think Alabama needs this to get into the playoff.
They do.
If they lose to Los Bama, they're out. Georgia walks into the playoff, no problem. I think Bama is going to be playing a lot harder than Georgia. Georgia's going to say, like, we're a one-loss team, but we're Georgia. We're the SEC. 2 SEC teams. This has happened. And they're going to try and, like, lean on that to get in, even though let's go back to preseason where everybody kept saying to Kirby, hey, Kirby, your schedule's soft. What the heck? Why is your schedule so soft? And he's like, we've got to play the teams that are on the schedule. It's like your team is soft. Your schedule is softer than cupcakes. Really? They came on at the end of the year with the run of Missouri and Tennessee, and I'm blanking on the third team right now. But they came on with a run at the end of the year where they were like, oh no, we have to turn the knob where we show that we're good, right? And then they just did that. And they beat the brakes off everybody. They brought Dolly Parton. They had Dolly Parton escorted by Peyton Manning come out of Neyland Stadium and sing Rocky Top. Tennessee still couldn't win. That's the level of power that Georgia has right now. You couldn't even get Dolly over the hump there. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one to Georgia. I think Alabama's turned it around significantly from the beginning of the year where this is a reminder that they got held to like 13 points by USF. And they've turned it around and they've discovered, oh, hey, Jalen Milroe is actually a very good quarterback and we should let him do stuff. I think Bama is a much more mentally rugged team. Georgia's the better team. And I'm going to take Georgia to win here.
I agree with your assessment about the mental toughness. Georgia could be, but we don't know. With the schedule they have, you're just not sure. Carla, what do you think about this one?
So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you go back and you look at last weekend, right? Like, forget the late game, 4th and forever heroics. Mm-hmm. Bama should have lost that game. 8 penalties for 72 yards, gave up 250 yards on the ground. This was a team that frankly got lucky when, for some strange reason, Auburn's defense decided not to pressure Jalen Milroe on that final 4th and forever. He had all day in the pocket. This is something that we have seen from Bama all year. Bama beating itself. And even though the mental toughness may have gotten better, that has not fully resolved itself. Bama is still dumb penalties. Lots of penalties, more penalties than we are used to seeing out of Saban teams. So yes, I get that Bama is definitely not the team that we saw struggle against USF early in the year,
right.
But they ain't Bama, not the Bama that we are used to. Anyway, we've had similar questions about Georgia this year. And I think I agree with AJ's assessment there that Georgia finally decided to turn up the knob and say, okay, yeah, we got to go play now. Brock Bowers probably playing in this game, according to what Kirby said yesterday. that out of all the injured players, he was the closest one to being able to come back. And here's something we just don't talk about. Carson Beck is one of the top 15 quarterbacks in passing yards in the country. We don't talk about that.
He's just such a weenie, though. I don't want to be impressed by him. I don't know why that is.
Like it blew my mind when I looked at
it
his
is totally
numbers,
unfair,
like,
and you are absolutely right.
Number one, you're right. He's a weenie, but number two, I just looked this up. He has 50 more yards than Drake May does, and Drake May's the one that everybody's like he's going first in the draft.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah. When I went and looked up his numbers today, I was like, that can't be real. It is. It's absolutely real.
Okay.
And a lot of that is due to Brock Bowers and the fact that he's likely going to play in this game. And the fact that, again, we play the SEC title game in the Benzo Dome, which is home field advantage for Georgia every single time they play this game here. I think Georgia wins this football game. I think it's a close game. I think it's a good game. But Georgia doesn't make the mistakes. They might not always play to their potential. They don't make mistakes. Bama has consistently this year. Give me the Dogs.
True. Okay. I think both teams are peaking at a good time, but they're not necessarily peaking at the same point. The peaks are not are not a parallel. Bama has come a long way. Kind of been following the trajectory of the of quarterback Jalen Milroe. What he's been able to demonstrate, what Alabama's offensive staff has allowed him to do. So as he has improved, Bama has improved, but they're still, Carly, you're correct. They are not looking Alabama-esque overall. Georgia, in the meantime, looks like they just kind of turned it up. Hi, Charlie. They kind of, I can't see my notes, buddy. I'm going to put them up over here. It looks like they've turned it up when games became somewhat more interesting at the end of the season, and it was at the very end of the season. Georgia also had a more advanced starting point, and Bama folks, the Bulldogs have a higher ceiling as well. I know you need this game to get in, but all Georgia has to do is go out and beat you, and then they have reached one of their big goals for the season, which is making it to the playoff. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I am now at a complete loss since my cat walked in front of me at 8 p.m. Crashing noises at 8 p.m. on Saturday on the American Broadcasting Company, the Atlantic Coast Conference, number 10 Louisville versus number 5 Florida State. The Seminoles are favored by 2.5 points. The AJ Fun Index, see you, buddy, is 49.5 points. AJ, what do you think about this one?
No Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
This is where the committee things get interesting, because I don't know if you guys remember this year. One person on this show might remember this year, but there was a year where in the last game of the season, in a rivalry game, the star quarterback got hurt, and then a backup had to come in and play in the conference championship game and potentially one of 2 playoff games.
This sounds familiar.
Does anybody remember?
Ringing a bell.
Yeah. It's ringing a bell. It might be ringing a tweet about not coming here to play school. Okay?
Oh God, that thing again. Stop it already.
It's the greatest. It's one of the greatest college football tweets of all time. You stop it. Show some respect to Cardell Jones.
It is.
Cardell Jones is an analyst on CBS Sports Network, I believe now. Beanie Wells is. I take that back. Beanie Wells.
Beanie is, and doing okay. Little rough around the edges. But,
I love seeing
but doing okay so far.
The number of people I've seen where I'm just like, oh, that guy's on there now. Malik Zaire. Anybody remember Malik Zaire? Yeah, he's a color commentator on CBS Sports Network too.
Nice.
So, anyways, is this a Cardell situation? Is Tate Rodemaker Cardell Jones 2023? Can he come in and take the reins of an offense that's very good and have the backing of a defense that's pretty good to go beat a I, here's my problem with Louisville.
Wisconsin.
I can't tell if they're for real or not.
Mm-hmm.
Are they for real or not? Are they fraudulent or not? I don't know, because they just lost to Kentucky. Sure, they lost the rivalry game, but do they have the horses to actually go win? I don't know. If Florida State goes and wins, they're an undefeated conference champion. Hard to keep them out of the playoff when you have an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. I don't care what the situation is.
I don't think you can.
And so now you have this situation where you've got a backup quarterback and a team that's probably going to get wrecked by whoever in the playoff, taking up a spot from a team that could be in and could do more, but they're not an undefeated conference champion, so they don't get the look. Like, I expect Florida State to still come out and win. I don't think Louisville has it like that. And Jeff Brom's going to have to dial up a hell of a game plan to win here. But I expect Florida State to hoist the ACC championship for the first time since that 2015 season. And that's that. I just don't know what's going to happen after that. But that's where it gets weird.
Okay. We like weirdness. Carla, do you see weirdness here?
I was shaking my head no as you were saying all of those things, because as someone married to a Florida grad who had to watch the entirety of UF FSU on Saturday night, Tate Rodemaker, fine. He ain't it. That offense was completely different. The fact that Florida still had a chance to win, Florida should have gotten beat off the field by a Florida State team that had that offense with Jordan Travis. And if Jordan Travis was the quarterback, then yes, that absolutely would have happened. Florida was in that game. The Florida State offense looked really out of sorts at times. That's not a knock on Rodemaker. He just hasn't had the reps. And yes, that's a rivalry game in the swamp, but to say that I was underwhelmed with this new version of the Florida State offense is kind of an understatement.
Okay.
I think if this Louisville team is the same Louisville team that came out and beat the brakes off of Notre Dame, Louisville's going to win this game. I think they don't have the injury bug. The thing that prevents me from just outright saying, no, this is a Louisville win, hands down, is what AJ brought up. They lost to Kentucky last week. I don't know whether it's possible. And I don't know if this is true though, because it's a rivalry game. It's your biggest game of the year, but were they looking ahead? Because they knew that they were going to have a chance at a Florida State team to go win a conference title, because they knew that Florida State isn't at full strength. Maybe. But I think if Brom can put together a game plan just like he did against Notre Dame, it's not going to take much to rattle Rodemaker, because Florida could do it. Okay.
That's the meanest thing anybody said, because they just fired their co-DC.
Florida rattled Rodemaker consistently. If the Louisville defense can even do an iota of that, Louisville can win this football game and hopefully settle the debate, because AJ is absolutely right. If Florida State is an undefeated conference champion, they are in the playoff, and they're going to get absolutely massacred by whoever they play in that first round. So Louisville, do us all a favor. Go win the ACC title so we can get 4 really good teams in the playoff.
The basic question, and you guys are both headed down this road. Can Tate Rodemaker manage the game and give his running backs a chance to win it? Jordan Travis didn't throw picks, only 2 this year. Louisville has a +3 turnover margin on the season. They will be looking for any opportunity to shake the backup quarterback. And the spoiler alert, and for my niece Molly, I am sorry. My niece Molly is a freshman at Florida State, huge fan. I mean, it's like this thing turned on in her brain, and she is 100% Seminole fan, and I think it's great for her. It's fantastic. And I know she's happy to have some bragging rights over her older brother, her oldest brother, who is a Florida grad. Louisville will end the Seminoles' national title hopes and end our concerns about what happens if Florida State makes it to the title game. Carla, you get this one first, and it's only fair because it's the Big Ten at 8 p.m. on Saturday on Fox. Our beloved Big Ten, number 3, Michigan versus number 17, Iowa. Michigan is favored by 23 points. The AJ Fun Index is a brutal 35.5. Carla, you get to go first.
Grumble, grumble, grumble. Play this game in Soldier Field. Okay. For all we say about Iowa's defense being really, really good, Michigan's is better. And they actually play offense.
There is that.
This is gonna be a massacre. Watch the ACC. Michigan wins.
AJ, when I was going through those numbers, you were looking like this is a game that a Big Ten game that even I could watch. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Listen, I have been tracking the Brian Ferentz statistics all year. Mm-hmm. I have a running spreadsheet that does all the calculations. If Brian Ferentz were to somehow want to keep his job, Iowa needs to score 67 points in each of their next 2 games. Okay?
Okay. Continue, please.
Right. Do we think Brian Ferentz can score 67 points against this Michigan team? Absolutely not. Do we think that he could score 67 points against the team that they play in a bowl game? No. But what I want to do is I want to celebrate the stupidity of scoring 216 points in 12 games. Okay? I'm not a math major. I was not a math
major
in any way, shape, or form.
For an average of what-ish?
18 points per game on the nose. That's 18 points per game. They are 10-2. And in the Big Ten championship game, don't ever tell me that you need offense. Okay? It's fun to score points. You don't need to. This is the frugality of Iowa. Okay? However, this is going to be over by the end of the first quarter. This isn't even going to be close. Harbaugh's going to be on the sidelines drinking milk. It's going to be terrible for everybody in Ohio. But Michigan's going to win this football game. It's going to be so stupid. And next year, you'll get to see Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game because they're getting rid of divisions because they've realized this is stupid all along.
It's true. It's true. Although Ohio State has to play at Oregon on my birthday next fall, which I'm not sure.
Sounds like
it's going to be fun.
A trip coming up.
Go
to Autzen.
I want to go to Autzen. We were talking about particularly if Northwestern's entire home schedule is in Wrigley Field next year. And I've seen things that say it's in Ryan Field, but the construction I don't know. That might be. I want to see a football game.
They'll play it all with Soldier. Listen, if you want to see a football game at Soldier Field, you could go watch Northwestern football next year.
That'd be cool. That'd be fine. So anyway, neither here nor there. Here's what's happening with this game. Iowa's defense holds Michigan to a field goal, and then scores 2 safeties in the second half. The Hawkeyes win 4-3, and in the offseason, Michigan hires Brian Ferentz to replace the disgraced Jim Harbaugh, who is fired after Wolverines have to vacate wins for 3 seasons because of the cheating thing. How's that?
I love this. Speak it into the universe. I love this more than anything in the world.
Yes.
Iowa wins the Big Ten championship 4-3. What a stupid sentence that I want to happen. I want to be at the end of the game going, no, they're going to kick the field goal to win and win 6-4. No,
you don't know.
It's somehow blocked. It would be so dumb.
Oh, folks, I may or may not actually think that's what's going to happen. We have a bonus pick. If you haven't figured out, I mentioned previously that to those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm wearing an Appalachian State hat. I am also wearing a Beat Navy shirt, and there is one more game of consequence that we're going to mention that is not necessarily a conference championship. Although, if one team, there are implications for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy on Saturday, December 9th, on CBS. Army versus Navy in Foxborough. Army is favored at this point, and we're a long way out from this game. Army is favored by 2.5 points. The AJ Fund Index, 30.5, which is respectable as hell for this game. 2 other notes. This is an eligible. Both of these teams have 5 wins. Am I incorrect on this, AJ?
Army has 2 FCS wins. Only one of them can count.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So Army cannot make a bowl off of this. They can go 6-6, but they cannot go.
I appreciate the clarification. What happens with the CIC trophy if Army wins this with their upset win over Air Force? Army wins the trophy outright. A Navy win means Army, Air Force, and Navy share the trophy, but it would stay with the Air Force Academy because that's where it is right now. So, guys, Carla, I know I think you guys both have Navy things. Do I remember that correctly?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. See, I'm screwed either way.
Yeah.
Okay, Carla, please go ahead.
Yeah, as the daughter of a Navy veteran, and we record the show on his birthday. Happy birthday, Dad! Love you.
Happy birthday, and thank you for your service, even though it was in the Navy.
Yep. So, in honor of my dad, go Navy, beat Army.
AJ, do you have anything that's gonna be significantly different than that?
Yeah, I do. Army's going to beat the hell out of Navy.
Yes.
I listen. If there's anything my dad taught me, it's that. By the way, my dad was a Navy medic.
Yeah.
For the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to all he had to do was be able to show them that the crayons were sharpened. That was for you, Crappy, and only for you. My
father's going to hear this, and he's going to laugh his ass off, and then he's going to be kind of irritated. But he got used to his brothers.
This is the truly best part of all the Marine rivalry stuff, or the like military rivalry stuff, because they all have their own special little jokes against each other.
They do.
It is hard to look at Navy season and Army season, even though Navy is going to a bowl and Army is not. Mm-hmm. And say that Navy has looked consistent. Mm-hmm. Both of these teams are trying to move away from the option. They can't get completely away from it because, well, the bodies that they have are built in a certain way for literal regulation reasons. So they can't play certain types of football. But I'm going to point this stat out. Navy threw the ball a couple times this year. Specifically, they threw it 178 times this year.
178?
178 times. 2 years ago in 2021, they threw 97 times.
Okay.
They have grown their passing game by 50% since 2021. Army's in the same way. They both got over 150 passing attempts. Mm-hmm. And all of this comes back to the NCAA ruling that chop blocking and the cut blocking that really makes the triple work has been made illegal. So all of the things that they've done for their game and the way that they win football games kind of goes out the windows. They can't play the same way that they have, which it honestly makes Air Force's success kind of incredible. Mm-hmm. This game is in Foxborough. The high is set to be 42. There is a potential of snow. It is very, very early for a forecast right now, but
perfect. But we're hoping.
This is Army Navy weather. Mm-hmm. This game will, by the way, Service Academy under. Always hammer the Service Academy under. And I see Army coming off, taking the momentum off of beating Coastal Carolina last week, and like not even close. They beat the brakes off of Coastal Carolina, and Navy getting wrecked by SMU.
Hammered.
There is some momentum here. Army beats Navy.
Okay. Carla, as I said before, happy birthday to your father. Thank him for his service. AJ, I love and respect your father, and I appreciate everything he has done for his country. Go Army, beat Navy, which is not only my hope, but my belief. And the Army will capture the Commander-in-Chief trophy in the snow in Foxborough, I hope. And my father, who is in the Marine Corps, will owe me $1 because that's what we bet on this game every single year. I even have I have a $1 bill with George Washington saying "Go Army" on it, and that's the one that we've actually passed back and forth for the past few years. So I have it at the moment. He might have to give me another one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I do want to point out that Army beating Coastal Carolina, that game had 365 yards of offense for Army. There was 0 passing yards. It was full rushing.
Okay. As long as
they held the ball for 40 minutes. They held the ball for 40 minutes. It was the most pure uncut triple option crap you've ever seen.
AJ, you have we have one more thing we got to take care of, and that is our final 4 picks. Yes. As you guys might be able to glean a little bit from what we've done with the predictions so far. But AJ, you had a thing you wanted to take us through real quick prior to that. What you got?
Yeah, let's do our final 4.
Final 4.
First.
Okay.
I'll kick this off.
Please do.
I expect Georgia to beat Alabama, Michigan to beat Iowa, Oregon to beat Washington, and Texas to beat Oklahoma State. And that is my final 4 in order. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4. I see Washington as their first out as a 1-loss non-champ. I think Florida State is out because they either win a very close game against Louisville or they straight up lose. And they won't have a conference championship. They will be a 1-loss team. Oregon or Ohio State is out because they can't win the Big Ten. Bama would be out with 2 losses. So there is my final 4.
Okay, Carla, what you got?
I totally agree with your logic there. I'm going to go with the college football fan in me and go Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, and do it committee Washington 4. I feel like the paper test, Washington's the better team over Texas, and I'd rather see them in the playoff. Even though the logic makes sense from what from AJ is saying, I 100% agree with it. College football fan in me says put Washington in. So that's what I'm going with my heart there. But I do think if the scenarios play out exactly the way AJ said, that's going to be your final 4, and there won't be any debate. Okay.
Does Oregon Washington does that helpful if that's a tight game either way? How does that play out in your mind?
In my mind, it would make the argument stronger.
Okay,
because they'd be going against the precedent being set that if you're a conference champion, you're in. To take a Washington team that doesn't have a conference title over a Texas team that does. And you can argue that Texas's loss isn't terrible. It was to Oklahoma, right?
Right.
It's a tough case to make. If Oregon wins, it's a tough case to make to put Washington in. I would just rather see Washington in. I'm picking with my heart there. And if the game is close, that makes that a stronger argument. But are they going to do that? No, they won't. They'll take Texas over Washington because of the conference title.
Okay. I'm going to be similar, guys. Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Army. I mean, Texas will be, according to what we've outlined for our picks for the conference championship games. That's how it's going to look from what I can see. Okay, AJ, this thing you got.
So obviously we walked all this down. It seems pretty simple. Folks, I'm going to remind you to go to youtube.com, look up the Carla and Crappy show because this requires a visual aid.
Please do.
It's time to go to the visual aid.
We are screen sharing, boys and girls. So we will figure out. I'll get some screen caps, or AJ can send me some screen caps so we can post this in the Substack. If you are a dedicated audio listener, if you're watching, obviously you've got the information right here that we're looking at as well.
I bring you chaos.
Oh,
because
God.
Listen, all of these teams winning, that's super fun. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for chaos. We're here for stupid. Let's say in this scenario that Georgia loses to Alabama. Okay.
Could happen.
And we have very possible. Michigan loses to Iowa. Very less possible. But in Crappy scenario, it does happen and Iowa wins 4-3. I would love that.
4-3. Take it to the bank.
Florida State loses to Louisville. very possible. Texas
Yes.
wins, very possible. Oregon wins, very possible.
Mhm.
So the only thing that's not really plausible in this scenario is Michigan losing to Iowa, but let's go with this anyways.
Yeah, what the hell?
So a reminder of the process. By the way, the college football playoff, everybody wants to have this discussion. It's very, very simple. Undefeated conference champ, one loss conference champ, one loss P5 team. That's the order. If you want to be a G5 team and get in, there's like an extended application process. You got to get your credit checked, all that stuff. But we don't have in this scenario any undefeated conference champs. Everybody's got one loss. So now we go down to the one loss P5 champs. I've got Bama, Oregon, and Texas. So they're the first three in. Easy peasy. Now I have one spot and I've got 5 teams to work with here. So let's check the resume. All of these are the AP rankings as of November 27th.
Okay.
Georgia currently has ranked wins over number 9 Missouri and number 11 Ole Miss. Their loss would be to number 8 Alabama. Michigan currently has ranked wins over Ohio State and Penn State. Number 6 Ohio State, number 10 Penn State, and they lost to number 18 Iowa in this scenario. Washington currently has a ranked win over number 5 Oregon, number 14 Arizona, number 21 Oregon State, but they've lost to number 5 Oregon. So we kind of have a negation there, right? They're down to 14 Arizona and 21 Oregon State. Florida State currently ranked win, number 13 LSU in week 1. That's it. That's their entire schedule. All the other games they played are against teams that are not currently ranked in the AP rankings. And then they would have lost to number 15 Louisville. Ohio State has ranked wins against number 10 Penn State and number 16 Notre Dame because Ohio State doesn't play a soft cupcake schedule. And they lost to number 2 Michigan. So who gets in? And Carla, this is where I agree with you because in my mind, the actual best team here is Washington.
Yeah.
They get in over Georgia because the only loss that they have is a team that they beat earlier in the season. Now, their ranked wins might not be as good as some of the other teams, but I think they have the ability to say they also have the best win of any of these teams by beating number 5 Oregon earlier in the season. So there is a interesting scenario that plays out there. I could also make the case for Georgia getting in as a one-loss team. I could make a case for Michigan getting in. I could make a case for Ohio State getting in. I really actually can't make a case for Florida State here.
No.
Florida State's resume, because of the ACC and because nobody they played finished the season well, the ACC coastaled the entire conference, that nothing really ends well here. So I think Florida State is easily the first team out. And then you have to go to the tape on the other ones. And I think Washington is actually the 4th team in. Carla, what do you think?
I would say, to me, when you look at the resume in that way, I think it's a debate between Washington and Georgia. Those are the 2 teams that I would be considering for number 4 spot. The one thing that I will say, because we have seen this from the committee, is that they do consider, and they're not supposed to, but they do consider historical precedent. And the fact that Georgia has won the last 2 national title games might be enough in their minds to put them in as the 4 team, even though I agree with you with the assessment there that Washington, with that loss, negating itself, that Washington actually probably has the stronger resume between the 2 teams. I think in that situation, I think the committee would probably put Georgia in, even though Washington is probably the more deserving team.
Yeah. Crappy, what do you think?
The portion of my brain that is an Ohio State fan is going, but we have the best loss. We have the best loss. But I think the realistic thing here is Washington. When this is laid out this way, Washington has the best resume, and I would have no hesitation whatsoever putting them in. I agree with Carla. The committee is going to give a lot of weight to Georgia just because they were number 1 all year, because they're a 2-time defending champion. Is that right? That the committee does that? No, I don't think so. I think when you've got this laid out as you do, the Huskies are the choice. And I don't think it's that hard.
And I think if this were to happen and Georgia were to get in, I would say the Kirby Smart and the Georgia staff owes Eli Drinkwitz and his staff an expensive dinner at a minimum for putting up the season that they did to give them another ranked win at the end of the season, because a normal Missouri season is not a number 9 season.
True.
So I think this is that's a big deal. And I think this is where I would love for this to happen. Michigan has to lose to Iowa to make this happen. Everything else is very plausible to happen and makes the committee's job very hard. But if Michigan doesn't lose to Iowa, you would have Michigan as number 1, because they would be an undefeated conference champion. And then the other 3, Bama, Oregon, Texas, would be in. So it would just be the same thing. So that was a scenario I just wanted to play out because I thought it would be funny and just to see what you guys thought, because it passed my mind today.
Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page. And for the first time this season, you can read us on our Substack. You can also watch us, listen to us, all those things. And on any of those places, you get AJ Kuftik, the country's foremost expert on G5 football. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business, and be sure to come back not next week. We will not have a show next week. The week after that, we have Bowlapalooza. And you'll want to come back for that. Guys, AJ, do you have any have a quick final thought for the show this week?
I just want you to know that I saluted and a single tear came out of my eye when the Pac-12 network ended. I was watching the end of the Notre Dame Stanford game. I watched the end of Cal UCLA. I saw the last Pac-12 After Dark with mine own eyes. I'm real sad, but at the same time, I know that Big Ten After Dark and Iowa Cal is going to be the stupidest crap you've ever seen in your life. And that's what I'm coming around to the end of the Pac-12 being a thing. I was looking up Pac-12 network merchandise on eBay. I was trying to see if anybody had any, like I could get like a polo or something.
Does it exist?
I found one polo. I found one hoodie that was a medium. Everything was a size medium because they're all
healthy people out there.
Healthy individuals. They're gonna have to figure out how to make Big Ten shirts at mediums. Almost made Carla spitter. I think Carla shot water out of her nose.
Oh man!
But listen, I miss, and I'm not going to be happy about the death of the Pac-12. However, the Big Ten having Oregon and Washington and UCLA and USC coming into it means you're going to get some very fun late night games. I'm really sorry, and I really hope that that somehow, some way they put a Big Ten After Dark game on, that they make Big Ten After Dark a thing, and they like have West Coast games for Big Ten teams play at 10:30 at night. They should do that. It would be fun. Auburn played Cal this season. Do it, cowards.
I will figure out my sleep schedule. For Ohio State and Oregon at 10 o'clock. I will make it happen. It's just
you're adorable. They're not playing that game at 10 o'clock.
I know they're not. Carla,
you're gonna have to set your sleep schedule. You're gonna have to set up your sleep schedule for UCLA Purdue.
Depending on situation, I might do that. We'll see how that goes. Carla, what final thoughts do you have?
Just again, shocking that we are here already, and start doing your homework now, because after the championship games happen, we will start getting bowl berths. So if you're sad about the end of the college football season, like pay attention to your computers on Monday and Tuesday, because we will start seeing bowl berths being awarded to some of these lesser bowls. Please go look through the bowls for this year. There's some real fun sponsors. We're going to have a lot of fun on Bowlapalooza. So make sure, watch the socials and our Substack and all that to know when Bowlapalooza is going to be out, because we're going to have a little bit too much fun with that this year, even more so than usual, I think. So
gonna be silly. Gonna be
silly and stupid and awesome.
Edible bowl mascots, boys and girls, is all I'm going to say right now. I will. I'm thinking about two things. I'm thinking about Bowlapalooza. We have a recording date set. We're going to get a guest list put together here, and it's going to be amazing, as perhaps even more amazing than usual. And I will say one other thing. I mean, Carla and I, Carla has worked in this business professionally. We all have dabbled in it in one, whether it's an academic sense or something else. But it was very cool this summer to have a D1 coach on the program. He was super gracious with us. He kind of veered off into an area that we did not expect, talking about midweek games and what that means for his student athletes, and in terms of logistics for his program, we had some brief reminiscence of him beating the pants off of Ohio State when he was the quarterback at Florida State many years ago when I was a kid watching him. I will always be grateful to Rick Stockstill for coming on our show. I hope he's not done. I hope he finds a landing place that is good for him after a long career at Middle Tennessee. But whatever happens, the best wishes to Rick Stockstill, and absolutely thank you for helping us out this summer, guys. We've made it through a regular season. We have conference championship games, and then we get into the most wonderful time of the year, the bowl season stuff. It has been magnificent working with you guys again for this whole season. AJ, thank you. I'm defending your title, your brand new title, until someone can prove me wrong. Carla, you are amazing as always. It's like you should have the name on the show or something. It's like something like
maybe
that. Maybe
we should have planned the name of the show other than like on our first episode ever. But
no, listen, I'm nothing but a humble correspondent. This is your show. I just sent some audio files in with like what I'm seeing, and it's nice, and I appreciate that you guys have me on.
And you text us at 2 a.m. when you're still up watching Pac-12 football.
It's so cute. Like somebody has to see the Pac-12.
So you guys, again, it's been a fantastic season. The best parts are coming up. And for those of you who are watching, are listening, are reading, are doing all the things that you do for the show, thank you so very much. Enjoy the games this weekend, and then join us again in a couple weeks, because it's Bola-palooza time, kids. Everyone enjoy the football. Thank you once again, and we will see you again very soon. Cheers, everyone.